Alright, we're out here in the fish shack. Let's look at some stuff. It's been a while since I've done a video. I was going to apologize for being messy out here, but I'm always out here doing something. It's always messy out here. One day I'll get it nice and pretty and painted and clean and tucked away, everything just perfect. But for now, it's a work in progress. So let's look at some stuff and see how things are. Alright, so let's start over here with the, I don't know what we're going to call this, the control center. Alright, so if you're doing plumbing, beware that your primer is probably tinted, because they tint the primer to make sure that home inspector or whatever can look at your pipe and say, oh yes, you used primer and the cement, so it's a good seal. So you can look to see that you got that done correctly. It will stain everything, and it's runny, so it drips and you get it all over everything. And I'm not very clean when I do it, because it's just a fish room and I'm just working in here, and I'm not a professional plumber. But anyways, so what we got going on, the water line comes in from the main or from the house, comes in. I've got the shutoff valve here, so that routes it down. If I open this shutoff and close these two, chlorinated tap water flows straight on through the system. Keeping it closed sends the water down this way. Comes into this valve here, reads temperature and pressure, so I can see what the temperature of the water coming into the fish shack is. Okay, so I'm back to refresh. I know it was just a second ago for you all, but it's been a few hours for me. Pressure gauge is at 0. This is why I have these pressure gauges here. Coming in from the street, pressure is 0. That means no water is moving in my water lines. Went to the house has water fine, so between the house and here the lines have frozen. So we'll just continue on. The temperature, since there's no water in it, is showing just about 70 degrees there, because of the room temperature and the air and the lines. Comes down from there, pressure gauge, temperature gauge, behind the pump, around and down. There's another shutoff valve there. I've got some Tetra-Color tropical granules on my finger. Let's get that off there. There you go, fishies. That shutoff isn't necessary. It's only there because I had a problem and I had to cut the line, and I figured why not put another shutoff in. Then that leads into my filtration system here, and you can see it says 3, 2, 1. That's because it's set up to go with water this way, but my water goes that way. So I reverse my canisters here, or my filter cartridges, and this one is the sediment filter. So it when it came out was over here, but now it's over here. So 1, 2, 3. So I'll get some labels and cover those up or something like that. Sediment filter, 2 carbon filters, and then it comes out this side to this pressure and temperature gauge. So the idea is, if this one's reading like 60 and this one's reading like 40, then there's a loss of pressure in the filtration system, which is an indicator of it getting clogged, it getting used up, something like that. But from there it goes on and back up here and around this mess and down to this T. So from here the water will go 2 ways. It'll go this way into my water heater, which this shut off here being turned down, not in line with the pipe, means it's turned off. We'll get to that in a minute. The other way that the water can go is this way to this T, where it can go straight across and down to my sink, or down this way. This shut off here, up and down in line with the pipe, means it's turned on. and it comes around and down to my mixing valve to mix the temperature. We'll follow the mixing valve around this way and back up into the water heater. Coming out of the water heater with the red PEX here, goes across this T, it can go to the mixing valve, or around the white PEX goes to the sink. From the mixing valve it goes up. Okay, and all these shark bites here, the mixing valve connected with screw-on fittings. Me not being a professional plumber, kind of just halfway knowing what I'm doing, I don't know that I have the screw-on fittings on tight enough until I turn the water on. If I don't have them on tight enough, water starts leaking out the screw-in fittings, and they need retightened. If it's glued like this here, you can't tighten it because it's solid with the rest of the pipe. One of the good things about the shark bite fittings is that it will allow you to turn this side of the pipe inside that shark bite fitting, so to let me tighten those if they were loose. And of course the only one that I had to retighten was this one here that has this big L in it, or Z, or whatever you want to call this, but I got that took care of. And then from there it goes up. This is my mixed water mixed with hot and cold, up this way all the way up to this shutoff valve. You notice it is closed. What I would do is I would open that to send water through my it's not necessarily automatic, but let's call it a semi-automatic water change. I have to turn it on and off at this point. I'm not sure if I want to put it on a timer to be completely automatic, but I turn it on and water will go on up. It'll go up through this gauge, another pressure and temperature. So it will tell me the temperature of the water coming through. So the mixed hot and cold water, what temperature it's running, and the pressure that I'm getting. Then it goes on up to this little, it was for a drip irrigation system, a 4-way manifold. So it screws on to the pipe there and reduces down to 1/4 inch, and that feeds on out to the tanks. So the tanks I haven't got set up all the way. I had this one set up and then I started changing it out. So they'll come out to T's and elbows and stuff like that, and as they go in they have shut-off valves on the tank, so I can shut a tank off if I need to before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to the heater, water heater that I would talk to you about. I said I'll talk more about my water heater. Alright, so the water heater is an inline water heater. I've wired it into this switch here. You notice it's turned off. And it goes into the white circuit with the white panels. So that's my main utilities, my air conditioning, room heater, lights for the overhead lights, the dehumidifier, that type of stuff. So the main utilities runs the water heater as well. It's currently turned off. Why is it turned off? The electric and water is turned off to it. Well, I hooked it up, started running it, and every time I ran it I would blow a breaker, which isn't a good sign. And the water would only get at most maybe 70 degrees, which isn't good because this thing's supposed to go warmer than that. Then I noticed that I was getting water in the floor, and with all of my professionally done joints here and fittings and get the filtration system and all the screw-in things and the shark bites and all that, where in the world is water leaking from? Well, I figured it out. The bottom of this, the bottom of my water heater, had drops of water on it. So it is leaking water. So that's why the water's off. The reason the electric's off is because with it blowing the breakers and not getting to the right temperature, there's a good chance that the element in there is busted or shorted out, burn out, stuff like that, and causing it to leak inside of there and blow the breaker. Or the inverse, that the water leak is keeping sufficient water from going through it, causing the element to short out and kick the breaker. Either way, it's a problem that I'm going to need to get in there and look at the element and see if I need to replace the element. Possibly some of the pipe work inside of there needs replaced, but for right now I don't have hot water in here. But shoot, 0 water pressure, I've got no water in here at all. But that's just because it's like -4 outside. But as you can tell, this little heater I've got in here is keeping it right about 76. Set point is 76. They can go 5 degrees above, 5 degrees below, and we're running right about 76 right now with it -4 outside. This pump up here, it's nothing. That has been a couple projects, and I set it up for an experiment because I had done something stupid and didn't realize what I was doing, and I was trying to fix my stupidness that I didn't realize what was wrong. So let's tell you about that. That takes us back around here to this. So I'm doing the DIY PVC hang on. I don't want to mess with drilling the tank overflows. I've done them before. It's been a few years ago. They work great. You don't have to worry about them losing siphon and all that hype that you hear about, because if they lose siphon, that means they haven't been done correctly. And that is what I was having. I was losing siphon. And it's not really a siphon, but that we'll call it that. And I'm like, these have worked for years. I never had trouble out of them. Why is it losing siphon? So that's where the pump came in, as I was running the pump down in it, pumping water into it, and then turn around, pump water out, and trying to figure out what I did wrong. And that's why I drilled this. This wasn't needed either, but I tried the old manual siphon. But what I was missing, because idiot me didn't think to look back at the plans, I was just building it off of memory, the cap up here. If your system gets air in it, yeah, it's going to lose its siphon. If you don't put the cap on the end of the pipe, yes, air will go in there. These work basically on the same idea of a water bridge, and nobody worries about a water bridge losing siphon. You create water on this side and water on this side, and that is a water bridge. Now what happens when it gets down this end? That's different. You maintain a water bridge. The water bridge will always maintain from here up and over and down to this same level over here. Even if this water line drops below and it drops down, it'll get to there, or it'll get the same level as this pipe up here, so it'll get to that right there. But all the rest of it will maintain water in it up to this point, unless you get air in your water bridge. So you don't really have to worry about that unless somehow you get water out of the bottom here, or out of the bottom here, or you introduce air in up here, which I ended up doing. But we'll do a video on that separately. So that's my automatic water change system, or semi-automatic. I'm going to tie into that and go the different directions, tee it off, go to all my tanks, do the hang-on drains. Oh, speaking of my hang-on drain, I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. Built this, tested it out, it was working great, so as I figured out what the problem with that was. And I didn't run it where I wanted to run it, because I'm going to run it inside there between, like down here between the two tanks. It's going to go down that little gap. That's why it's 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch. I'm going to run a couple on the 55s, ones on the 10s, and like that. I'm debating on whether they're painted or not. The purple's kind of pretty, right? But anyways, I pieced it all together. The 3/4 inch goes between, it goes in the opening there, down the side of this 2x4. So it'll go 3/4 inch down beside that 2x4. 2x4s really aren't 2x4, but you know. So testing it out, I've glued it all together because you need to keep a good seal on it. Put my shut off in here. You shut it off to fill it and turn it on and off. And I didn't have the main drain in for the system, so I ran it into my Daphne bucket. Then when I decided to move it to the back there where it goes, one, my shut off is pointing the wrong way. And two, anybody notice the difference between this size and this size? The ball valve is bigger than the pipe. It won't fit between the boards. Not right there, it won't. So I have the option now, the decision to make. Do I just leave it on the outside here, or do I cut it, put it through, and then add another coupling to actually get it where I want it? Oh, decisions to be made. Alright, if you like this type of video, let me know. I'll show you the rest of the stuff, how I screwed up the electric, how I did the drain lines, how I did whatever. This is by no means the how-to or how I suggest you do it. You know, you can look at what I'm doing and say, that is not the way to do it. It's working for me, or it's not working for me, and it's clearly this is not working for me, and this zero pressure is not a good thing for me. But the 76 degrees is good. I just noticed we have ice on the wall here because of how cold it is. For now, I'm going to turn this completely off. It was set to fan, so if it got above 80 degrees in here, the fan would kick on, but with it being -4 outside, I don't think it's going to get above 80 in here. But just in case, it's kicked off. Alright, I'm rambling on now, so back to work it is. And if you like this type of video, let me know. Let me a thumbs up. If you don't like this type, leave me a comment of why you don't like it, what you would rather see, and hit the thumbs down button. Subscribe, notify bell, share, all that stuff that YouTube likes. And we'll see you next time.